Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
It is another glorious day in downtown Cincinnati, and we welcome you to Great American Ballpark. Boy, it's been a fun weekend off the field, not so much fun on it. The Reds are trying to avoid being swept by the Diamondbacks, and they're looking for their first win during this homestand. Hi again, everybody, alongside Chris Welch and Jim Day. I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds Baseball. Well, one thing that's occurred here over about the last month, you like your chances of a Reds win when the young right-hander Raisel Iglesias is on the mound, and he's on the mound today.
Well, if this is indeed an audition for future pitching here in 2015 to see what you've got down the road, Raisel Iglesias has certainly taken advantage of his opportunity because he has gone out there, especially over the last 4 games, and really he's gotten good and comfortable on the mound. You see what he's done in the month of August, and believe me, he's pitched against teams that are grinding it out, that are trying to get into the playoffs. 4 starts, a 2.1 earned run average, a batting average against, look like he's throwing against a lineup of pitchers. He's really got it going. Good control on the outer part of the plate, changes speeds well, has a real knack for pitching.
Now, Chase Anderson is a guy who spent a little time on the DL. He came back, he pitched a great game against the Reds, and he has struggled ever since.
Well, you're right, and he was a guy that was one of the more consistent pitchers the Diamondbacks had in the first half of the year. They actually sent him down to the minor leagues on Tuesday, but because they DL'd Jeremy Hellickson, he was in the rotation, they had to bring Anderson back to make their start, so he gets another start against the Reds, and not only pitched well against the Reds this year, but last year as well. We'll see what this right-hander has in store this afternoon.
And certainly for Iglesias, you got to keep Paul Goldschmidt quiet. I mean, he did nothing the first 2 games of this series, and he knocked the cover off it last night.
Well, he broke a 2 for 25 slump, and he did it in a big fashion. A couple of home runs. The guy waits very long, hits it right out of the catcher's mitt. He's a real good low ball hitter. I was hoping that we were going to see Goldschmidt go through this series without heating up, but he got hot last night. Let's hope he doesn't carry it over here this afternoon.
Well, the Reds are also hoping that Todd Frazier is coming out of his funk after a good night last night. Jim Day has more on that when we return. You're watching Reds Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio.
On Fox Sports Ohio is brought to you by Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. By Chevy. Check out their award-winning lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good? It's Skyline time.
Meteorologist Brandon Orr here with your local 12 Weather Authority forecast. Looking pretty nice, at least to start out the game. A decent amount of sunshine in between some of the clouds, but just wait till the end of the game. Some of the thunderstorms will be moving in from the west. We'll see those bubbling up into the sky off towards the west, and then it'll start to clear on out overnight tonight. So the game is looking mainly good, especially since it's an early afternoon game. Just going to watch out for some of those thunderstorms with some gusty winds a little bit later on towards 4 or 5 o'clock today. Enjoy the game on Fox Sports Ohio.
I'm Jim Day on the field. It's been a tough go for Todd Frazier since the All-Star break, but perhaps of late he's busting out. Last night was hopefully a good indication that he's getting his swing back because he started out with an RBI single and put a couple of doubles on the board, a double, scored a run off of that, walked in between, and then doubled and scored a run again. 3 for 4, RBI, scored 2 runs. Also making some nice plays down at third base. And if you check out our IGS Bringing the Energies, riding a 4-game hitting streak. First time since July 9th through the 12th. And over those 4 games, 467 average, 7 for 15, including 3 doubles. Back-to-back games with multiple hits for the first time since the middle of June. Todd Frazier's back in the lineup. There are some other changes. Who's in, who's out? Tom and Chris have that, as well as all the play-by-play action. 8 is enough. Reds need to stop the streak. We are back after this.
In downtown Cincinnati, and a good crowd. Family Day Sunday here at Great American Ballpark. Reds have taken the field wearing their red jerseys on this afternoon tilt. And the Arizona Diamondbacks sport that Sedona red on their gray road jerseys. Their lineup tonight has Inciarte in center, Owings at second, Goldschmidt at first, Peralta in left, Castillo catching, Jake Lamb down at third, Yasmani Tomas in right, Nick Ahmed the shortstop, Chase Anderson on the mound. Making his 14th big league appearance, his 12th major league start, is right-hander Raisel Iglesias.
Well, when Johnny Cueto was with the ball club earlier this year, it was the one every 5 days that you really look forward to watching a young man pitch, and now that can be same said for Raisel Iglesias. He's thrown the ball extremely well his last 4 times out. In fact, against the Diamondbacks, one of those times, 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 run.
First pitch is in there. Strike one to Ender Inciarte. He clubbed the first pitch of the game last night for a home run. Mark Wegner calls the balls and strikes. Marty Foster at first. The crew chief Mike Winters is at second base. And Mike Muchlinski, the umpire, down at third. It's 0-2 on Inciarte. Really seeing the versatility. We talked about it in reference to the Diamondbacks middle infield last night. Owings is shortstop by Trey. That one served into left field on an 0-2 pitch, and the beat goes on for the Diamondbacks. They have just knocked the cover off the ball in this series, and that's an 0-2 pitch for a leadoff double. In a series opener, Arizona had 13 hits. They had 13 hits in game 2. They had 11 runs and 16 hits last night.
Now, that's not a bad pitch. That's one of those 0-2 pitches where, you know, you want to come after the hitter. You don't just want to waste a pitch up there. And that's just a nice little job by Inciarte to get the bat on the ball. Got a little break by having it stay fair down the line.
Reds made a lineup change, and not only involving the player that was scratched. That's Brennan Bosch with a sore ankle. He fouled a ball off his foot last night, but they rearranged their entire outfield. It was originally Schumacher, Bourgeois, Bosch, left, center, and right. Bourgeois now goes to left. Inserted to the lineup is Lamar in center. There you see in right field Skip Schumacher.
I'll tell you, you know, Tom, I know that major league opportunities don't grow on trees. So when you get them, you've got to take full advantage of them. And you hopefully that you're able to stay healthy. But if you can play and you opt not to because you're a little sore or because things just don't feel right to you, you don't know when that next opportunity is going to come along. It may not come along. I mean, right now, what you have with the Reds, a team that's 19 games under 500, is essentially an audition for next year. Now, there are a lot of guys that are locked in a multi-year deal, so there aren't all that many positions that are open. But there is an outfield position or 2 open for 2016.
1-2 the count on Chris Owings, who's had an excellent offensive series. Owings came into the series hitting .228. And he has that average up to .242. He had 3 hits, 2 RBIs, including a home run in the opener, 2 hits, a stolen base, a run scored in the second game, and then Owings had 3 hits last night. Iglesias strikes him out. 1 away.
Now that's a spot right there that Iglesias can really make a lot of money by dealing to. You go down and away. He kind of freezes right-handers with a low arm angle, and look, Owings can never even reach that pitch.
Been almost a carbon copy, although with a little more pop for Goldschmidt than when the Reds were in Arizona 2 weekends ago. Goldschmidt in that 3-game series did not have a hit the first 2 games and then knocked the cover off the ball in game 3. Double single in 3 straight at bats in that series finale. He did not have a hit in the first 2 games of this series. That all changed last night. 4 hits, 2 home runs, scored 3, knocked in 4. He even stole a base. Second, 1 out. We're just underway, and a fastball is wide of the strike zone.
He's got a nice little zip on his fastball here today. Iglesias does. He threw that last one at 95 miles an hour, but not only that, he's got nice action on it. Late action, which is something you just can't teach. You don't learn that in the weight room. You learn that by flicking your fingers at the very end of your release point.
2 balls and a strike. And a fastball that's off the outside corner. That one in 93. 3-1 on Paul Goldschmidt, the National League leader after the big night last night, and runs batted in 93 of them for Goldschmidt. One better than Nolan Arenado of Colorado. Goldschmidt second only to D. Gordon in the National League batting average column. Strike two. Boy, that's a good 3-1 pitch right there.
That's as good as it gets. Goldschmidt can't really believe that it was called a strike. He thought it was outside. I mean, so there's no secret as to how Iglesias and Brian Pena trying to go after the Diamondbacks first baseman. Low and away, and more low and away.
Of course, he has tremendous power the other way. We saw him hit an opposite field home run last night. Breaking ball fouled off. We had a really nice time before the game today. The Red season ticket holders, and they enjoy so many benefits, and it doesn't have to be a full season. It can be partial season, whatever the case may be. But one of the real treats is photo day. And the season ticket holders line up a couple of hours before the game. They bring them in on the warning track, running basically all the way from the first base bag, wrapped around the outfield on the track, coming over to the third base bag. And you know, those in uniform, and some of us also asked to come along, get a chance to say hello and shake hands and take pictures and meet so many of the fans. There's ball four to Goldschmidt. And that was really a lot of fun today. I'd tell you, it doesn't surprise me, but the people are so friendly, and they're so appreciative of anybody being there.
Hey,
that was a ball. There. You were there. There you go. Well, you even had the shirt and tie on. That's a big league move there. Because it was warm down there. It's picture day.
Every player on the roster, I think, went out there. Some posed for pictures longer than others, but it was nice to see everybody out there.
Two on for David Peralta, and there's a swing and a miss. Now, perhaps I brought it up a time or two too many already during this series, but it is so rare to see what the Diamondbacks do with the personnel on their team in this day and age in Major League Baseball. And meaning that, you know, guys will play second base one day, they'll play shortstop the next day. We saw that with Owings. Now Owings back at second base as Ahmed is in at short. And their outfield is maybe the best example of all. We saw Peralta in Arizona a couple of weeks ago start in left field. He started in right field last night. He's back in left field today. We saw Enciarte in Arizona start in right. Left field the first three games of this series. Center field today with A.J. Pollock getting a day off. And it's not like these guys are part-time players. These are regular players that are being moved around into different positions, not on a daily basis, but certainly within a series a couple of times. It's got to be a real nice, you know, sort of feeling to know, if you're the manager, Chip Hale, that you don't have guys locked into just one position. Yeah, you have a couple of guys that are, in Goldschmidt and Lamb, but outside of that, you can start mixing and matching. Paying a lot of attention out there to Enciarte. Swing and a miss. Gone on strikes is Peralta. 2 away in the inning.
Well, he's getting ahead of the hitters, except for Goldschmidt, but he's getting ahead of the hitters and putting them on the defensive. And we are not going to wait long today for our flamethrower, brought to you by Cholula Hot Sauce, an 0-2 fastball that kind of rises up and out of the zone by Raisel Iglesias. That one 93 miles an hour.
Double strikeout, walk strikeout, and here's Wellington Castillo. line. Pena calling timeout. Now Castillo ready, so too is Iglesias, and a breaking ball sweeps away from the right-handed batting Arizona catcher. Ball one.
Good fastball hitter Wellington Castillo is, and he's always had power, but I don't think anybody saw this coming. His power surge that he's had with the Diamondbacks since joining them. He was on fire when the Reds went through Arizona earlier in the month. You know, it seems like Iglesias throws a lot of different pitches because he changes his arm angle a little bit. He really only throws, you know, 4. A couple different kinds of fastball, a changeup, and a breaking ball. But when you start combining different arm angles, you give hitters a lot more to think about. That's sweet.
94 miles per hour and paints the corner.
I mean, it's a pitch that when it comes out of his hand, it looks like a ball, and then watch the comeback action on it. I mean, why would you swing at that? When it leaves his hand, it looks like it's going to be 4 inches outside.
So now Rysell tries to end this Arizona first inning, and he does with a dandy of a breaking ball. Iglesias stands aside. The Diamondbacks strand 2. Reds are coming up. Chase Anderson on the hill for the D-backs. Ryan Price's starting lineup presented by Meyer. Lots of changes with so many injuries, and here's the way it stacks up. Bourgeois leads off and now playing left field. Brandon at second base. Joey Votto at first base. Frazier at third. Pena catching. De Jesus Jr. now the shortstop. Schumacher in right. Ryan Lamar in center. Made his major league debut last night. And Iglesias on the mound. Chase Anderson 5 up, 5 down, his 22nd start. Chris mentioned a little while ago, after pitching a brilliant game against the Reds a couple of weekends ago, he was battered and bruised in each of his last 2 starts. 5 innings, 9 hits, 5 runs, and a loss against Philadelphia. Then 4 2/3, 9 hits, 7 runs, 5 earned against the Pirates. Was ticketed for the minor leagues, but then due to an injury, they kept him in the rotation, and he takes the ball in this series finale. Jason Bourgeois to lead it off, and it's in there. Strike 1. Bourgeois did not start the game last night. He did come in later in the game. Started the first 2 games of this series. Couple of hits in game 1. Knocked in a run, scored a pair. Knocked in a run with a base hit here on Friday night. Ahmed, the shortstop, 1 away. Arizona on defense, presented by Ford. Peralta, Enciarte, Tomas, left, center, and right. Lamb and Goldschmidt on the corners. Ahmed Owings up the middle, and Castillo back behind the plate after Saltalamacchia got a rare start last night. Here's Brandon. Was back in the lineup for the first time since injuring his arm during the Kansas City series. And had 1 hit in 5 at-bats, singled and scored in the Reds' first inning. Now, Jim Day, we were walking around with all the season ticket holders taking pictures today. You were out there as well. But I got to tell you, I was walking around in a short sleeve shirt. Mr. Welch had the shirt and tie on. You're down there, shirt and tie on. It's got to be a wee bit warm down there.
It is extremely warm right now. The sun is beating down and not much protection from it, but it's a big old hang with them.
Now, see, I'm going to put in a plug for you. I beat you down a little bit. But I'm going to put in a plug with the bosses and the powers that be. Yeah. Francois McGillicuddy, Tom Farmer, Bob Pennell, et cetera, our game producer Josh Hall. That on these day games, you really should be wearing a Fox Sports Ohio golf shirt. I'm in your corner on this one. I know you dictate policy most of the time. There's a base hit into right field by Brandon. But I certainly would propose that on a day like today, you're in the golf shirt down there. It may not mean anything to you or anybody else, but I just think it would be the right thing to do.
That is a complete 180 from earlier this season.
It is, but you're allowed to change your mind. We grow older, we hopefully grow wiser.
I got you. Well, thank you for being in my corner. It only took till latter stages of August.
You know, Jim, though, it really, in lieu of a golf shirt, because you do look good in a coat and tie, and a white shirt looks sharp down there, maybe just a parasol. Keep the sun off.
Don't do that to anybody. Come on.
They offered me an umbrella for the sun in Los Angeles because it was 98 degrees that one day game, and I said I would never hear the end of that. Absolutely not get that umbrella away from me. Players would kill me. And you guys.
Well, we did see you put a towel over your head, though.
I did. Yeah, and they said we're coming on camera, and I thought about taking it off, and I said, oh, the heck with it. It is what it is.
That's right.
Well, it's hot for the players, too, and getting hotter for Chase Anderson as he runs a count 2-0 to Joey Votto. Both pitches he's missed with fastballs inside. There's no secret, really, about the way the Diamondbacks have tried to pitch to Votto in this series. And he has still reached base an awful lot and hit the ball hard.
That on base percentage at over 56% of his plate appearances reaching base safely, and he was on 4 straight times last night. Scored 3 runs, 3 walks, and a hit.
Well, he led off a couple of times last night. The other times he came up with either 1 out and nobody on. In the first inning he came up with a couple of runners on and nobody out, and that was the only really bad at bat that he had.
Runner goes, and Votto takes down low, so he's on base again. Phillips a single with 1 out, a walk to Votto, and here comes Todd Frazier. And Jim Day was just talking about Todd Frazier a little while ago, hoping that maybe last night, when he had 3 hits, a pair of doubles, scored twice, knocked in a run, also drew a walk. And the only out he made was a ball where he just missed hitting it into the seats. It was caught in front of the wall by the left fielder in the 7th inning. So let's see. Strike 1. Over the last 3 games, Frazier has 7 hits in the 13 trips to the plate. And you see during this 4-game hitting streak, 7 of 15. His next home run will be his 30th home run. Ball and 1 strike with 2 on and 1 out here in the Reds' first inning. Of course, Brandon been running more this season than he has over the last 3 years. 17 of 19 in stolen base attempts. And I think everyone would be surprised if Brandon is running here. We'll see. 1 ball, 1 strike on Frazier. Fly ball, right center field. Ciarte the catch in front of the track. Brandon will tag and advance on to third. 2 outs here in the first inning.
Todd had a couple of balls last night that he hit pretty well, and one that he thought had a chance to get out of here. It was caught at the right against the wall in left field. That ball he hit, but just got under it a little bit. That continues the tough luck that Frazier's had against Chase Anderson, now 0 for 7.
Runners on the corners for Brian Pena. One swung on and fouled out of play.
About a first pitch fastball from Anderson.
Runners on the corners, bottom of the first inning. 2 out, 0-1 on Pena. And a fastball is outside. Reds begin play 51 up, 70 down. A half came behind the Brewers for 4th place in the NL Central. They slipped behind Milwaukee 2 nights ago. But both the Brewers and Reds losers last night. And this pop-up should end the inning. The left fielder Peralta is there, and that's set. No score, end of 1. He allowed a hit and a walk in the first. Chris, he also struck out the side.
Well, he threw the ball extremely well, even though he did give up a 2-strike base hit to the leadoff hitter Inciarte. But when you strike out the side, especially 2 of them looking, that shows me that you're hiding the ball well, they don't see it, and that you're hitting the corners. And that's a pretty good strikeout to walk ratio he has going right now. Best by a Reds rookie since Sammy Ellis in 1964. That's impressive when you've got to go back that far. Sammy Ellis, boy, he had some really good years for the Reds. 20-game winner one year.
And what a pleasant man.
Grillo, what we used to affectionately call him, now living in Lake Javita, Florida, just a little bit north of Tampa.
Jake Lamb to start things here in a scoreless game. Top of the second inning. Hard hit ball by Brandon Phillips. Boy, you really got to hit it to knock it past him. Second hit for the Diamondbacks, and both of them have come leading off innings. The Reds on defense presented by Floyd, Bourgeois, Lamar, Schumacher. Left, center, and right. Frazier and Joey Votto on the corners. De Jesus giving Eugenio Suarez a day off at shortstop. Keep you up to speed on games involving contenders in the National League today. The Cubs in that American Legion weekend where they've had the players show up an hour before the game, put on their uniforms, play catch, and play the game. 3-0, trying to make it a 4-game weekend sweep at Wrigley Field today against Atlanta. Cardinals lost again last night, and all of a sudden, you wouldn't call it tight, but with all the games that will be played inside every division around baseball, really beginning next weekend through the remainder of the year, outside of an isolated series here and an isolated series there. The Pirates 3.5 now behind the Cardinals. The Cubs are 6.5 back, but the Cubs have opened up a whopping 5-game wild card lead over the San Francisco Giants. Those two teams will meet this upcoming week. Cardinals have been just completely shut down out at Petco Park in San Diego. And then they'll be traveling to meet this Diamondback team starting tomorrow night in Phoenix. Washington Nationals were winners last night, so too were the New York Mets. So the Nationals are 5 behind New York in the East. And the Dodgers have lost 4 in a row. Only lead the Giants by 1.5 games, 1-2 on Yasmani Tomas.
And they will be here next week, or this coming week, after a day of one game makeup game against the Tigers. Then the Dodgers come to town.
Night games Tuesday and Wednesday night. Tickets are available. 7:10 start times both those nights. Thursday will be a 12:35 game. That'll be Anthony DeSclafani against Zach Greinke. Swing and a miss. Here's that breaking ball that just sweeps away from the right-handed batters. 4 strikeouts already for Raisel Iglesias.
Really, the biggest key for that breaking ball is to start it midway or away rather than right at the hitter. Because if he's bailing, you want to make sure he doesn't have a long enough reach to be able to hit that ball. It's the kind of swings you would get a lot off of Bronson Arroyo from right-handed hitters. Of course, Arroyo didn't have all that many games as a Red where he was capable of dotting it up there at 94 or 95 miles an hour.
Here's a shortstop, number 8 hitter Nick Ahmed. 21 batters, 7 home runs, and 26 runs batted in. Ahmed not much in way of on-base percentage either. Now granted, he's batting near the bottom of the order. There's one, and then the fire to first is in time, and that'll do it for the Diamondbacks in the second inning. Reds coming up in a scoreless game. What's on the line today for these teams? The last time a Diamondbacks swept a series over the Reds, you got to go back to 2003. The last time the Diamondbacks, and the only time the Diamondbacks were one game over 500 this season, is when they were 8-7 on the 22nd of April. Reds an 8-game losing streak, 9 already a season high. No score. We begin the second inning. You know, Diamondbacks have really been a team by and large that they've never sunk to the depths of going, 8, 9, 10 games under. They're 6-17 this year when they've been 1 under, which would obviously get them back to 500. So they would slip 3, 4 under and then make their way back up, slip back again. 1 game all year. If they win today, they're over 500. They certainly have played like a far better team than that during the first 3 games of this series. Reds are down, not playing well, not a lot of energy. Some key pieces in their lineup have been out with injuries. And this Diamondback team has just hit with incredible authority during this series so far. One and 2 on De Jesus, and a breaking ball he does not chase is in the dirt. .254 the batting average for Ivan. 4 home runs, 16 knocked in. Reds had a chance in the first inning with 2 on and 1 out, but Anderson able to retire Frazier and Pena. Two balls and 2 strikes. That one is hammered into right center field, a base hit. Over to cut it off is Enciarte. And a good way to get it started for De Jesus and the Reds in the second inning.
Boy, being able to hit the ball to all fields just open up so many opportunities for guys. De Jesus has shown his ability to do that. He's shown some power, especially when he pulls the ball, but he really liked this swing a lot better.
Schumacher, a .211 hitter with 12 doubles, 10 batted in, and he's down strike 1. I mentioned a moment ago just some of the key games in the National League. Man, there are key games in the American League seemingly every night. I mean, Kansas City's the only team that's running away. Don't know if you noticed or care, but last night the Texas Rangers leapfrogged the LA Angels of Anaheim for 2nd place behind Houston in the American League West. And speaking of the Astros, the Dodgers come to town and they have completely shut down Los Angeles,
including being no hit by Mike Fiers.
And then they beat Zach Greinke last night. There are 8 teams within 4.5 games of the American League wildcard race. Unbelievably, the Chicago White Sox are 5 games under 500. And they are only 4.5 games out of the wild card.
Looking more and more like hockey every year.
Division leaders, the Yankees, a half game better than Toronto. Baltimore stubbed its toe recently. Losers of 3 in a row. Toronto and Texas, the co-leaders, with the top 2 teams in the wild card. Toronto actually has a 4.5 game lead over Texas. Texas' 2nd spot, a half game better than the Angels. It's interesting. All of a sudden, didn't Chris Texas out of nowhere?
Mm-hmm. All the injuries that they've had, too.
Yeah. Two and two on Schumacher. Now, we haven't seen any of those clubs this year. And they're really not on television all that much unless you buy some package where you can get all the games. And you don't see much of Texas or Houston. For that matter, not much of Anaheim. Bouncing ball should be two. There's one. Ahmed's throw is in time, and that's a double play. Well, we haven't much had to hang a hat on here around here the last few days. A lot of people, though, that hung with us last night really got a big charge out of watching Ryan Lamar's mom and dad here at the ballpark last night with their son making his major league debut. They switched up the seating arrangement a little bit today. Dad now sitting to the left of Mom, Mary Ann. And first pitch swinging, a two-hopper to short. That didn't last long. One hit, none left. End of two, no score. Tuesdays presented by Rice Krispies Treats. For all Tuesday home games left, you can buy a package of $25 and get a Reds ticket and an exclusive All-Star themed T-shirt. Buy that package right now by visiting Reds.com/Tuesday. You know, you're not going to walk around and stick your chest out much. Nobody is interested much in that kind of behavior. But, you know, when you look at the Reds, and many of the teams around baseball honor and recognize service men and women during the course of games. And certainly, you know, the Reds are very much a part of that, thanks to one of their great sponsors and our great sponsors, Cincinnati Bell. But it seems like every night here, and I read not too long ago where there are more living World War II veterans within about 120-mile radius of where we are here in Cincinnati than in any other region of the United States of America. Last night we honored a World War II veteran. Today, unbelievably, two of the living members of the Tuskegee Airmen fought in World War II, of course. James Shaw and Leslie Edwards. Of course, that's a group of African-American military pilots, fighter and bomber pilots, who fought in World War II. They form the 332nd Fighter Group and the 477th Bombardment Group of the United States Army Air Forces. It also applies to navigators, mechanics, instructors, crew chiefs, all the personnel. They were the first African-American military aviators in the United States Armed Forces, and 2 of them here today. How about that? There was an incredible play book, which was then turned into a Broadway play that played up at Playhouse in the Park this past winter. The story of the Tuskegee Airmen. There's a ground ball to Votto. He feeds it over to Iglesias, and 2 quick outs to start this 3rd inning. And I got to admit, Chris, I did not know that whole story, but that was one of the more enjoyable plays, musicals, whatever you want to call it. But this was a play because the story was so fascinating.
Yeah, the story is fast. I unfortunately did not see the play. Hope sometime I get a chance to do that. But there were no African-American pilots in the armed services until the Tuskegee Airmen. Named Tuskegee Airmen because they were based in Tuskegee, Alabama, at Moton Field in Alabama. I'm glad they got a huge round of applause here at Great American Ballpark, and they did. Standing ovation.
Iglesias has fanned 5. He's allowed 2 hits and walked the batter. And here's Owings, who struck out swinging his first time up. And that was a big out in this game, because the very first batter of the game on an 0-2 pitch, Inciarte doubled down the left field line, and Owings at the very minimum could not advance him on to 3rd. Well, he just reared back and cut that one loose. That was a little more 3/4 or closer to over the top than we normally see.
Well, he stays over the rubber really well. If you watch his delivery, it's a good one. I mean, he gets over the rubber and then really fires off with his right foot and continuously hits that outside corner.
Well, he thought that was strike 3.
That's a tough spot for right-handed pitchers to hit. And if you can take one thing out of watching Raisel Iglesias pitch, is the next time you pick up a baseball, if you're a right-handed pitcher, that's the spot you aim for. Because if you can go down there more often than not, you're going to get a hitter out, or he's going to get himself out down there.
Payoff pitch. In the air, right center field. That'll be handled by Lamar. And a 1-2-3 inning for the first time today for Iglesias. No score. We go to the bottom of the 3rd.
I'm Jim Day. Let's check in with some news and notes around Major League Baseball. And Josh Donaldson is the first one to reach triple digits as far as RBIs go. He is now at the 100 RBI mark. And Adrian Beltre today playing in his 2,528th career game. That is the most by any player from the Dominican Republic. He passed Julio Franco for that mark. And Nick Swisher, 14th time in his career that he's had a home run from both sides of the plate. That is tied for the most in Major League Baseball history. And Nick Swisher, the former Ohio State Buckeye.
Yes, he is. Hails from West Virginia, but played collegiately for the Buckeyes. That really is an amazing note about Adrian Beltre. When you think about all of the players and all the great players in the history of baseball, as Iglesias bunts it back to the mound and he's thrown out, that have hailed from the Dominican Republic, and to be able to say that you have played in more major league games than any other player from that country, that is an amazing accomplishment. And one day Beltre will end up in baseball's Hall of Fame. He has had a marvelous career, and he's still going strong. Speaking of Julio Franco, today's his birthday. How ironic is that? On a day when he's passed for both games in the big leagues by a Dominican player. That one is dropped into right field by Bourgeois.
Well, the Reds are being aggressive early in the count because they're pretty much guaranteed getting a first pitch fastball from Chase Anderson. So when you know what's coming, especially when he's trying to get ahead with a strike, that's a good hitting count.
Well, the Reds have done very little running in this series. Let's see if they think about getting Bourgeois started. Only one attempt, a successful one by Jason. Here's Brandon Phillips. Brandon single into right field, his only time up. Those numbers. Phillips, a .310 batter with an on-base percentage up over 37% when there is a runner on base. That one swung on and fouled back out of play, and Anderson in front of 1 ball and 2 strikes. Good lead over there by Bourgeois. 1 out, 1 on, and again a throw over.
Well, with Anderson on the mound, the opposition has stolen 2. They've thrown 3 out, so the odds are not good there. But with Wellington behind the plate, he's not been as good at that. Opposition has stolen 13. He has thrown 2 out.
That's an out. Tag play at second. Ahmed chasing Bourgeois back. And how about Goldschmidt? Both putouts. 3-6-3 in a very different way on that double play. Subscribe to MLB.TV Premium for live or on demand on over 400 devices. Visit MLB.TV for details. No score at the end of 3. The series finale between the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Cincinnati Reds. The Diamondbacks have won each of the first 3 games. And the Reds are looking to try and end an 8-game losing streak that dates back to the final 3 games on the just completed road trip. 3 in Los Angeles after winning the opener there. Lost 2 to Kansas City to start this homestand. 3 straight to the D-backs. The one-time employer, Reds manager Brian Price. He was a pitching coach under then manager Bob Melvin of the Diamondbacks. And Brian Price makes his year-round home in the Grand Canyon State. .345 against Iglesias, who's been so impressive again through the front 3 innings today. Rysell already 5 strikeouts in the game and make it 6. And we're only 1 batter into this 4th inning.
You know, the question that I have is when I watch Rysell Iglesias pitch is that why aren't there more right-handed pitchers or left-handers for that matter that are willing to experiment with different arm slots like Iglesias has? So many times now you see guys coming out of the same high 3/4 arm slot. They're trying to stay on top of their sinker, stay on top of their slider, and it pretty much gives hitters at any level, you know, a carbon copy of the guy that pitched the day before. And Iglesias is just kind of a different guy. And you don't, I mean, that combined with he's got good stuff. Don't make a mistake about that. But I think the fact that he is able to change his arm angle and come from a little different spot gives him a little bit of an advantage that hitters just don't see it as much.
Well, he had Peralta climbing the ladder his only time up. It finished off with a strikeout on a pitch up and away from him. He's ahead here at 0-2. We've talked about Peralta in the past. He's really an interesting guy, especially looking at where he is and what he's doing right now. He started his career as a pitcher, pitching professional baseball in the Cardinals organization. That didn't work out. And then worked to become a position player. Nice play by Joey. 2 outs in the inning.
Hit hard by Peralta. Really good glove work by Votto. You don't have to worry about whether Iglesias is going to be there. I mean, this guy just sprints to first base and makes sure that he gets there well ahead of the runner coming down the line. Watch him get over there now. I mean, and that's the key to making it look easy over there, is to get to the bag as quickly as you can and have the first baseman dish you the ball before you get to the bag.
Two up, 2 down. 7 in a row retired by Rysell, and here's Castillo, struck out looking the last time and the only time the Diamondbacks have threatened in this game. Jumps on the first pitch here, and it's 1-0 Arizona. Castillo, his 16th home run. Got a first pitch fastball.
Yeah, he did. We were talking about how in that first at bat it looked like that Iglesias kept the breaking ball on him near the hole at bat. They gonna call that a double?
Oh, wait a minute now. Castillo, in fact, has already stopped at second base. And he might just be stopping there, so if they tell him it's a home run, he can finish running the bases. Or maybe he saw something that I did not see. Did a fan lean over the top of the wall? Oh, no, that's a home run.
Oh, yeah. That's a rest stop out there at second. The Brandon Phillips way station.
If this takes any more than 15 seconds, something's wrong. That's a home run. Quickly. That's a crew chief review. That's how replay started in baseball. To be able to determine if balls were fair or foul down the line, and even more so when it first started, whether a ball was a home run or not.
And we know where replay started. The question is, where will replay end?
I got to tell you, Chris, and I know a lot of people, and let me start by saying I'm not suggesting that baseball should do this in any way, shape, or form. I had never been out as a spectator. A long time ago, went as a worker, but never as a spectator out to watch the professional tennis, and had the chance to do so early yesterday afternoon with our family. And I got to tell you, they don't have line judges and umpires making those calls anymore as to whether or not balls are in or out. It's all done now by lasers and technology and that kind of thing to tell whether a ball is in or out. And I couldn't believe it, seeing it for the first time. When you're at a tennis tournament, if it's a borderline call, they'll show you the replay, and then the next shot, it focuses in on the place where the ball hit, and to show you exactly whether it was in or out. And I kept thinking the whole time I'm watching it, will we ever see this calling balls and strikes? I mean, there were a couple of balls, and again, you don't know because you're looking at a replay board and the mark on the screen, and, along the sideline or the back line, whatever it may be. But can the technology be that good? A home run by Castillo gives Arizona a 1-0 lead.
earlier this season, we told you when Todd Frazier gets a big hit or gets on base, he does. And basically, I'm driving the bus. I'm the captain. Get on board and follow me. Well, just moments ago, Castillo, when he took his pit stop at second, check him out. Jokingly does it back to Frazier, and then Phillips says it's a home run. Go ahead and parade around the bases. So it's catching on, driving the bus, and so far, Castillo has the D-backs driving that bus.
All right, a 1-0 ball game, and here is Chase Anderson, at least through the front 3 innings, doing exactly what he did to the Reds when they were in Arizona and has been unable to do against anybody else that he has faced.
Kind of interesting the way that works out. He's pitched 2 times in his career against the Reds, once last year and this year, both very good outings. First part of the year, he was one of the best pitchers on this ball club. First 13 games, his earned run average was 2.8. But his last 8 games, his earned run average is closer to 8 at 7.6. So he's just been getting clobbered.
Fly ball into left field off the bat of Votto, and that's out number 1 here in the 4th.
Coming into today's game, and you mentioned he was slated to go down to Reno, their AAA franchise, before Jeremy Hellickson was placed on the disabled list. He had given up 12 runs in his last 2 games in 9 innings. 12 runs. And that game that he pitched against the Reds August 7th in Phoenix, that was the best start he's had since the All-Star break. And on another roll here today with a 1-0 lead.
Todd Frazier flied out to right center. He was run down by the center fielder Inciarte his first time up. 1 run, 3 hits for the Diamondbacks. No runs, 3 hits for the Reds against Anderson. A few clouds beginning to roll in for the first time, and really since Tuesday. That's when we had a short rain delay, and that's the last time we've seen basically more than a cloud here or a cloud there. You just had incredible weather here, and I guess whatever's blowing through today, once he gets out of here, they're talking about nothing but sunshine and a high of 75 this entire upcoming week. Reds will be home every night. Tomorrow night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and then a day game on Thursday. So if you want to enjoy some Reds baseball and some beautiful temperatures, come on down. Straight up in the air, so be on number 2. 3 players converging. One of them's going to get it. And naturally, the leader out there, you watch his Diamondback team for a short amount of time. That's Inciarte. We invite you to tweet your strongest fan photo. Use hashtag #OhioDataStrongFan. We might put you on a telecast. It's brought to you by T-Mobile. I bet you we're going to see some of those pictures taken by the fans before the ball game today that'll be flooding in from the season ticket holders photo day. Ground ball to short. This will end the inning. So Pena taken care of. You watch Pena busting it up there to first base. He's pretty nimble on his feet. Remember that slide the other night? Jim Day's going to have more on that when we come back.
dipsy-do danceroo, and he gets in. And I bet you didn't know that Brian Pena was so nimble. In fact, he's got some more dance moves in him. Check it out. That is beautiful stuff. Thank you, our competent tape room, Brian Pena. Boys, I bet you didn't know he had so many moves.
I tell you, that was a lot of fun watching that slide the other night. Anything Pena does, he's going to do it with a smile. And when he does things well, you get excited for this guy. Because he truly is one of the most enjoyable people to see every day when you come here to the ballpark.
Well, he's also one of the most fan-friendly players the Reds have. And they have a few of those, but I mean, Pena is one of the guys that really stands above the majority. I was following him around a little bit during the season ticket holders photo day. And I mean, you talk about a popular Red.
Another fan favorite, and they haven't seen him all year long, and you can tell fans were excited to see him, and he was excited to see them as Sam LeCure as he bounced around today.
Back at home, Sam.
Yes, sir. Good to have him back. 2-2 on Tomas. 3 hits for the Diamondbacks. One of them did the damage. The only run in this game, a 2-out solo home run by Wellington Castillo an inning ago. Iglesias in search of his 8th strikeout. And there it is, which matches his career high.
He's got Yasmani Tomas just swinging the thin air. Same pitch, same type of swing, and same result as the first time out. That ball never did look like a strike, and Tomas just can't lay off of it. You know what he does so well, and that's a great look. That's slow-mo. We can see that again at some point, where he really kind of gets his glove out in front of him. It keeps his shoulder closed, but it also adds a little distraction for the hitter.
Look at that. That one started at Ahmed's hip and wound up tickling the outside edge. Strike one. Ahmed bouncing to a double play. His only time up. A ball and a strike. Milwaukee a 2-1 lead in the third on the road in D.C. And they're just underway at Wrigley Field. The Braves and the Cubs. Giants and the Pirates will play later tonight. 1-1 pitch. Swing and a miss, and the Cardinals will wrap up their series out of Petco Park, trying to avoid getting swept by the Padres. Padres, another team, a win away from being a 500 club. That would be 4 of the 5 in the NL West should San Diego win that game. Potentially, depending on the outcome of this one, where 4 teams in that division could be 500 or better. 2-2. Drop down fastball, oohs and ahs at 94. That's at 96 miles per hour. Chris, I don't know about you. That's the highest radar gun on a fastball we've seen by Iglesias.
You're right, and it just has some movement too. I mean, that's the important thing really, is to watch how this ball just takes off.
Or Apollo Fox tracks here. 96 and ran up and in. New career high in strikeouts for Raisel Iglesias. That's number 9. He had hit 8 on 3 separate occasions, most recently 2 starts ago in San Diego. He's trying to fan the side for what would be the second time today. The other time he had to pitch around a hit and a walk. Yes, sir. He went around 1-2. So now Iglesias a strike away from fanning the side here in the 5th inning and putting him at 10 strikeouts on the day. There it is. How about Raisel Iglesias? Reds need to get this cat some runs. He's down 1-0. By your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. By Meyer, find more for a healthier you at Meyer. And by Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the country on the U.S. News and World Report's best children's hospitals in America. And as always, we send out a pleasant hello to those of you who may be watching from Cincinnati Children's today. Hope you have a great day today. It's been a mighty good one for Raisel Iglesias. 10 strikeouts, has allowed 3 hits. 1 run, but his team has yet to score a run in his defense. DeJesus Schumacher Lamar against Chase Anderson, who completely shut down the Reds in Arizona. Was lit up in each of his last 2 starts so badly they were sending him to the minor leagues, and the only reason he's pitching today is because another member of their rotation got hurt. And he's pitching like a guy who's trying to stay in the big leagues now. 1-1 on DeJesus. He has only thrown 48 pitches in this game, averaging just barely over 11 pitches per inning. Falls behind DeJesus, who singled into right center field. 3 balls and a strike.
Well, he's doing it really in a complete opposite fashion than is Raisel Iglesias. He does not have a strikeout, so he's pitching to contact, and you know he commands a 1-0 lead. So everybody likes the strikeout, but in the long run, when you're looking at the scoreboard, there's a lot of sizzle to the strikeout where there's almost as much substance to a ground ball right at an infielder. At least today for Chase Anderson.
And there's a walk, his second issued in the game. This one starts the Reds' 5th inning. Coming up later on, we'll have our Miller Time moment. That's always brought to you by Miller Lite. Well, the Reds could use a Miller Time moment or two to try and end this 8-game losing streak. It's not only been a long losing streak, it's been an ugly losing streak. No one knows that better than that man right there, skipper Brian Price.
Now, I'm not saying that strikeouts are not an indicator that a pitcher is on a trend to be a superior pitcher compared to everybody else, because they certainly are. But in a small sample like today, kind of an interesting matchup, because you got one guy that has no strikeouts. You have another one that struck out 2 an inning for the first 5 innings.
De Jesus was aboard after that single to start the 2nd inning. Schumacher bounced into a double play. 1-0 on Skip.
Might be a situation right here where you would put a play on a hit and run play. If you don't feel De Jesus has got a base stealing speed out there or can get a base stealing jump, Schumacher's a good contact guy. Anderson's pitching the contact, so why not take the aggressive part here? Pulled the string nicely on that. That's his favorite off-speed pitch. He's got really a fastball, changeup, and curveball, and does it in that order.
One ball, one strike on Schumacher. And if you're thinking about putting something on, a lot of managers like the 2-1 count.
Because you're pretty much guaranteed you're going to get a pitch that a pitcher wants to throw a strike on. Nobody wants to go 3 balls and a strike, and that's why the 2-1 is a favorite.
Nothing on. 3-1 the count on Schumacher. Let's see if they think about starting him 3-1. It's not like Schumacher's the kind of guy that hits the ball in the seats with any regularity. In fact, he has yet to homer this season. No movement, and it's swung on and fouled out of play. All right, we thought 2-1 maybe. 3-1 a bit more of a stretch. With nobody out and the bottom part of the batting order up to the plate. Will they start De Jesus at 3-2? They do. And this will be the first out of the inning. De Jesus retreating back to the bag. This Reds lineup, they go out there hacking. They've got a lot of young guys that are getting a chance to play that are not regular players. So when they get a pitch to hit, they're going to swing at it. But so far in this game, the Diamondback batters have taken 17 strikes. Taken 17. Reds hitters have taken 3. There's Ryan Lamar. Breaking ball in there, a strike. Make it 4. 0-2 on Lamar. Leadoff man aboard with a walk. And Ryan Lamar picks up his first major league hit. A breaking ball hooked into left field. Mom and Dad, all smiles. Congratulations to the entire Lamar clan.
How about that? He gets it on an 0-2 pitch and a curveball down around the shins. And a solid line drive to left field. Congratulations, Ryan Lamar.
That's great stuff. One of his two sisters here as well, sitting to the right of Mom Marianne and Dad Kevin. And they're looking at themselves now on the scoreboard. I saw Ryan before the game today, and he said, man, he said, I got so many text messages and emails and phone calls from people, and really thank you guys so much for for all the great shots of my mom and dad. He said, when you're playing in a game, you never realize the way your mom and dad cheer for you. There's a ball set aside over there. They're rooting for you, and they've been there every step of the way. He said, but to see that stuff on television, he said, it was just awesome.
It'll even be more awesome today.
Yes, it will. That's good stuff. Really good stuff. Thanks to our entire crew for getting that all together. And Iglesias, a line drive, and the inning is over. Boy, if it wasn't for bad luck, the Reds wouldn't have any luck at all. That is just a rocket off the bat of Iglesias. It goes right to Goldschmidt. And then Lamar doubled off.
The Reds up, and that was grabbed by the first baseman Paul Goldschmidt, coming right off the bat. But here's Iglesias. We've talked about his different arm angles, and that's a breaking ball from the side arm angle. There's a little bit higher, about 2/3 of an angle, a fastball running away, and he goes even higher than that with a breaking ball. So you can see what the hitters have to contend with when you're in the box against Iglesias. Pitchers that move different ways and a lot of movement and velocity, up to 96 today. And a couple of different arm slots to try to pick that ball up out of.
Well, through the front five, Raisel Iglesias is in the driver's seat, brought to you by Kia. He's actually right in the passenger side because he's down 1-0. 10 strikeouts today, a career high. The last Reds rookie to strike out 10 or more in a game, Tony Cingrani, fanned 11 Dodgers on the 28th of July, 2013. 1-0 Arizona on a solo home run by Wellington Castillo in the 4th inning. Top of the order for the D-backs here in the 6th. Inciarte, Owings, and Goldschmidt. top of the order for Arizona has just destroyed Reds pitching in this series. And you go through the first 3 games and you look at the first 2 in the batting order. 3 times on base by the leadoff man. 4 hits by the number 2 hitter in game 1. Another 4-hit game by Pollock, the number 2 hitter in game 2. An RBI by Inciarte, the leadoff man. Then last night, Inciarte 3 batted in, I beg your pardon. Scored a couple of runs. Pollock had another 3 hits. And then Goldschmidt joined the hit parade for the first time in a series last night. Their 3-hitter had 4 hits, including 2 home runs. Pollock getting an off day today. I think everybody that came to the ballpark, with the exception of Chip Hale and maybe Pollock himself, were stunned that Pollock was not in the lineup today. He has 11 hits in the first 3 games of this series. That is 1 short since divisional play began in 1969 for most hits in a series by a player against the Reds. Tony Gwynn had 12 in a series. And there's a walk to Inciarte. Second one of the game issued by Iglesias. Todd Frazier wondering, would the Diamondbacks here in a 1-0 game think about having Owings bunt?
I wouldn't be surprised, or even maybe, although he is a 10 strikeout pitcher up there, he's missing a lot of bats. A hit and run type play or a bunt and run type play. I think Owens can definitely get that bunt down. Inciarte stole 19 last year. He's stolen 12 already this year, but he has been thrown out 7 times. And a quick move by Iglesias has kind of shortened up that lead.
And you couple that with the fact that Owings has swung the bat so well in this series. He struck out his first time up today, but he's one of the few Diamondbacks to hit the ball hard against Iglesias today. His second time up, he lined out to center field. Strike 1. Talked the other night about the Diamondbacks third base coach Andy Green, native of Lexington, Kentucky. Christian high school there, and then played for the Big Blue, the Wildcats. Fly ball to right, 1 out. Goldschmidt a walk and a strikeout. Diamondbacks a 1-0 lead here in the top half of the 6th inning. It's interesting, you look at Goldschmidt this year against the Reds. He's a perfect 6 for 6 against Anthony DeSclafani. He's 1 for 1 against Pedro Villarreal. Against everybody else, he's 0 for 19.
Those throwovers by Iglesias are completely intended to shorten the lead up and not pick the runner off. Because Votto never even puts a tag on the runner. In fact, normally where he stands a couple of feet in front of first base bag, it really never gets him into a position where he could do a quick tag. Very difficult for a right-handed throwing first baseman anyway.
2-1 to Goldschmidt.
Oh, he is painting. Goldschmidt finally looking on the outer part of the plate, and Iglesias comes right on the inside black.
Runner goes, throw by Pena. Trickles into center field, but Inciarte will stay put. Number 13 for Inciarte.
Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe Brian Pena's shoulder is still achy breaky a little bit after being hit by a foul ball right on the shoulder joint. Really low arm angle right there, and he just bounced it right by Phillips. Ryan Lamar heads up play, coming in hard on that, and he was not going to be a spectator in deep center field. He made sure Inciarte did not end up on third, so that's a good hustling play by the Red center fielder.
Two and one on Goldschmidt. And now 2-2. The inning began with a walk to Ender Inciarte. One out later, he steals second base during this hit back to Goldschmidt. And now Iglesias, trailing 1-0, can ill afford to allow any further damage by Arizona, what with the way the Reds offense has been going. That one hung up a little bit, and Goldschmidt fouls it back. Almost appeared to back up a little bit on Goldschmidt, which really prevented him from hammering that pitch. Runner at second, one out. 2-2 on the Arizona first baseman. Votto ranging far to his right, gets away from Iglesias, throw to the plate, gets away, and it's 2-0 Diamondbacks. That was really sloppy there. Really sloppy. You had time to make a better throw to the covering Iglesias, who looked like he lost his footing a little bit initially. But that was almost a slide arm underhand sort of sling.
Well, he's going to be nabbed with an error on it. Votto is. He fields the ball fine, and he gets it, and rather than setting his feet, he kind of throws his little fadeaway right there. And the reason that Iglesias lost his footing is because he had to reach back for the throw. So maybe a little more conventional approach right there would have been the way to go, but not an easy play, I can tell you that, because you're going in one direction, you're turning around and firing in another direction, trying to hit a guy on the run. And in a 1-0 ball game, that's the kind of play you hope gets done, but it doesn't always happen. You limit your damage now if you're Raisel Iglesias. You've been cruising right along, 10 strikeouts through the first 5. You're down now 2-0, and you really need to leave that runner out on second base. But with the way the Reds are being shut down by Chase Anderson, got to keep an eye on him, though. Goldschmidt will steal one on you if you don't pay attention.
Yeah, last night he picked up his 20th stolen base of the year, and we told you at the time is that's a comebacker. Iglesias will look Goldschmidt back. Goldschmidt became the first baseman in the big leagues since 2003. Derek Lee of the Florida Marlins had a 2020 season, 20 or more home runs, 20 or more stolen bases in the same year. Goldschmidt has done that here in 2015.
Castillo was the guy that accounted for the one home run, or for the one home run in this ball game. on a first pitch fastball, and I doubt that he's going to get a cookie down the middle here, not with a runner at second.
Ball one to Wellington Castillo. He hit the home run, which before this 6th inning was the only run in this game. First pitch fastball. They come back with a breaking ball. The first pitch in this at bat. And a breaking ball again. That's belt high. 1-1 on Castillo. Good breaking ball there. And he's had a pile of them today. This will be the 90th pitch of the afternoon by Iglesias. We're in the 6th inning. He's fan 10, but on the short end of a 2-0 game. That's his 11th strikeout. But the Diamondbacks get a run without a hit in the inning. A walk, a stolen base, and an error. For Grateful Dead night, see your Redlegs take on the Brewers. And then we'll have a big post-game fireworks show featuring a Grateful Dead soundtrack presented by Gabriel's Place. Chase Anderson. This guy couldn't get out of the 5th inning his last 2 starts without giving up 7 runs in each of them. He's working on a 4-hit shutout today. Let's see if the top of the order can get something going here against Anderson. Bourgeois behind 0-2. Jason has one of the Reds' 4 hits. And it's 1 ball, 2 strikes. Brandon Phillips to follow, and then Joey Votto. Travis touched upon it in the last inning. And Anderson went through the 5th without the note being made that he still does not have a strikeout in this game until now. Well, if Red hits a home run off the Toyota side during our game, Iris Riggs from Cincinnati will win that Tundra out in left center field. And you can still register for your chance to win. Just stop by your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer. 1 away in the 6th inning, and Brandon coming up. Two runs, 1 earned, given up by Iglesias on just 3 Arizona base hits. But the Reds committed 2 errors on 1 play, an error by Votto, and then another error, I'm assuming, being charged to Iglesias on that throw high to the plate. Where Inciarte wound up scoring. There's no activity in the Reds bullpen. Iglesias just surpassing the 90 pitch mark when that inning came to an end. Brandon, a fly ball out of play off to the first base side. 1 ball and 2 strikes on Brandon Phillips. Young man has just gotten better and better as the season is moving forward. Two and two on Phillips. Joey Votto waiting in the on-deck circle. Then Todd Frazier. And a ground ball to the glove side for Ahmed. 2 away in the inning. And Votto coming up with the bases empty. Joey has walked and flied out to left field. Nationals all over the Brewers, although a long way to go in that one. They're just in the top of the 4th inning. The Nationals with a 5-2 lead, and the Cubs in the 1st inning score 3 against Atlanta.
So if the team, the Cubs that is, with on American Legion weekend, you come an hour before the ball game, you get loose and you play the game, that means you're not there in time for batting practice. So has the team not had batting practice in 3 days?
Not one time. Now look, there are probably some players that have to come in for some kind of treatment. Yeah. Nagging injuries here or there. But the goal, as I understand it, we're not there, just reading about it in the newspaper. The goal was not a player was allowed to come through the clubhouse doors until there was 1 hour left leading up to game time. Joe Madden was holding up the American Legion flag, Chicago, Illinois chapter, on Thursday, and said, just like when you were a kid, that's the way we're approaching this 4-game series. Show up an hour before, put on a uni, get loose, stretch, go play.
So if you did want some batting practice, you have to stop at the local cages with a pocket full of quarters.
That's right. Over champions. They have a champions in Chicago.
Well, they should if they don't.
Well, maybe you could do something about that.
Well, it may not go over so good in Chicago because Joe Madden is taking the incentive away from batting practice. You know, I'm not so sure that there's more than a handful of managers that can get away with that.
Well, you know, the other part of that, though, is you're probably right in the number that could get away with it. The follow-up question with that would be, how many would actually do it of the ones that could get away with it?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Madden can do it. He signed to a 5-year deal. He comes with a lot of credibility built up already as a manager from down in Tampa Bay. What he had done down there with the Rays. I mean, even if they had lost the first 3 games, he could somehow explain his way out of the fact that, hey, it wasn't because we didn't take batting practice that we got beat 2-0 or 9-7 or whatever the score was. But I mean, if Brian Price tried it and the Reds lost the first 2 games, there would be people up in arms saying, well, what is he doing? Why is he trying to reinvent the game? But Joe Madden is in a position at his stage in his managerial career that he could get away with it. If La Russa came back and wanted to do it, he could do it. Mm-hmm. You could name a number of managers that could probably get away.
Bochy for sure could get away with it. But Showalter could do it.
The question you ask is a good one. Which ones actually would try it?
There's a high fly ball down the left field line and bending foul. That one would have been right on the border as if it had enough to get out of here. Girardi could do it. Showalter could do it. And I think Mike Matheny's at the point where he could do it. Mm-hmm. And Hurdle could do it.
Yes.
You throw in Bochy and some might throw out some other names, and you might be right, but just scanning the major leagues, that might do it. 0-1 to Frazier. Cubs have added a run already in the 2nd inning. They have a 4-0 lead over Atlanta. Here it's 2-0 Arizona. We're in the bottom of the 6th inning. 1 on, 2 out. Popped up. This time it is playable. And the third baseman Lamb shading his eyes now pulls a glove away and makes a catch, and that'll do it. We go to the 7th, 2-0 Diamondbacks. Most strikeouts going back to 1969 in a game by a Reds rookie. Remember Bruce Perenyi? 12 of them. Dennis Reyes, of course, far better known as a reliever than starter, was punched out 12 in 98. And now Iglesias trying to go by Perenyi and Reyes. as he takes him out here in the 7th inning. But the Reds trail 2-0 in this game.
Well, he's got the bottom part of the order coming up, and he has struck them out 6 times. So the majority of the strikeouts that Iglesias has against hitters that are coming up here in this inning. So he's a cinch to move up on that list.
Ball 1 on Jake Lamb. Fastball up and away. And that's ball 4 to Lamb to begin the inning. We invite you to celebrate this All-Star summer being a part of All-Star Mondays presented by Tri-State Chevy Dealers. For all Monday home games, you can buy a package for $25 and get a Reds ticket and an exclusive commemorative baseball featuring an MLB All-Star Game logo. Purchase your All-Star Monday ticket package by visiting Reds.com/Monday. We've got all kinds of ticket offers for you the remainder of the way that also involve some of the good stuff from this year's All-Star game here in Cincinnati. Runner goes, and it's fouled off out of play.
Well, you've got a 2-run lead rather than being down by 2 runs. You can be a little more aggressive as the way you manage your team. You push the gas pedal down a little bit, try to steal a base, a hit and run, do something that you wouldn't normally do when you have to be a little more conservative the way that Brian Price is. So you can kind of see what Chip Hale is trying to get done here with the Diamondbacks. The other thing that he would love to get done is to get Raisel Iglesias out of the ball game again in the Reds bullpen. Iglesias coming up on pitch number 99. Last 3 times out, he has pitched anywhere between 90 and 95 pitches. The most he's thrown this year, 113. So he certainly has got the leeway to be able to finish this inning.
Jumbo Diaz up throwing in the Reds bullpen. 2-1 on Yasmani Tomas. Lamb 3 steals in 4 attempts this season. Breaking ball grounded foul. It was that kind of breaking ball that he kept working Tomas down and away, down and away, down and away, and got him to swing and miss in each of his first 2 times up.
Yeah, I think that one's coming up next. Three Cubans, pitcher, catcher, hitter.
And there's that breaking ball down and away for his 12th strikeout. So that ties a rookie mark going back to the start of divisional play in '69 by a Red. As far back as we can dig right now, the most strikeouts by a Reds rookie in a game belongs to the fellow we were talking about for a while last night, Gary Nolan. He had 15 strikeouts against the Giants in his rookie year of 1967. And you brought the name up earlier of Sammy Ellis. Ellis struck out 13 Chicago Cubs in 1964. And as far as we can tell, those are the only two Reds rookie pitchers to have 13 or more strikeouts in a game. Iglesias with one more would join that duo. And one on Ahmed. It's a nice pick right there by Joey Votto. Really nice pick. I mean, already down 2-0, and here we are in the 7th inning. You don't want this ball flying down the right field line and Lamb standing at third with one out in the inning.
That's exactly what that ball looked like was going to happen.
And one on Ahmed. Bunted back up in the air. Second out of the inning, and Anderson naturally working on a 4-hit shutout is going to bat. Well, this certainly figures to be the final inning for Iglesias. 102 pitches. Jumbo already warming up in the bullpen.
Well, he struck out Anderson each of the previous times, once looking, once swinging. So I imagine the odds are good he's going to have the hat trick by the time he leaves his batter's box.
So here for the 5th consecutive start now, Iglesias, as Chris mentioned a moment ago, has given you minimum 6. For the second time trying to get through 7 during this 5-game stretch. He has 2 wins, a loss, and the blown save his last start when Aroldis Chapman blew his first save in this ballpark going back to 2012. Iglesias had a 1-0 lead. Well, you pitch like he has, you can't go 2-2, can you?
That's why the wins and losses really not a very good indicator.
0-2 on Anderson. And that is a 13th strikeout.
Wow.
Believed to be just the 3rd Reds rookie pitcher to strike out 13 or more batters in a game. Big round of applause for Raisel Iglesias. He acknowledges the crowd. Boy, is he fun to watch.
And face the American flag. Major League Baseball.
Road to the Fan Express to Great American Ballpark to root on the Reds. We thank all those of you who jumped on the Fan Express this season. Another great success. Speaking of success, Raisel Iglesias, his last 19 innings. Has allowed 1 earned run. First pitch swinging, Ryan Pena. And that's the way things start here in the Reds' 7th inning. You may be saying, well, did he give up 3 runs a couple of starts ago? He did, but you may remember he gave them all up in the first inning. That was the game against San Diego, where he gave up 3 runs in the first, went the next 5, did not allow a run. 7 innings of 3-hit shutout baseball against Kansas City. And 1 earned run of the 2 he allows in 7 frames today. Man, oh man, oh man. So here's De Jesus. Anderson is allowed 4 hits. That's 1 more than Iglesias gave up. But Wellington Castillo hit a home run in the 4th inning. It was a walk, a stolen base, and a pair of errors on the same play, which allowed Inciarte to race home from second base on a ground ball to the right side of the infield for the 2nd run, an unearned run against Iglesias in the 6th inning. My dad reminds me, in the game that Gary Nolan struck out 15 Giants his rookie year, he struck out Willie Mays 4 times.
Wow. Glad to know that Marty is locked in on Fox Sports Ohio on a beautiful Sunday afternoon.
He's been off this whole homestand with the exception of the ceremonies on the field and outside the ballpark.
He was looking good yesterday wearing a sport coat.
Was very sharp. He's a lot like you. You know, you two guys just in the last couple of years, all of a sudden, really dapper.
I think he would agree to half of that. His half.
Swing and a miss. And that's a strike. 2nd strikeout in the game for Anderson.
You know, individually, the pitches that Chase Anderson throws, they look hittable. But when you combine them all together, he's been very good at changing speeds. I think he's topped out only about 92 on the fastball, but he throws that one right by De Jesus for a strikeout. He's had some good changeups for outs. And, I mean, here he is, just not even at 90 pitches yet.
No, you know, but when Marty's coming back to work, what, Tuesday night? I don't think he's doing a game tomorrow night.
Oh, he's not? Okay. Well, I'm going to miss him because you and the Cowboy will be working the Dodger series.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know that. Okay. You are going to miss him.
Yeah.
More importantly, he's really going to miss you.
You're right about that. He's probably loaded up all sorts of ammo for his first night back as the commissioner of the media dining table. And I will be crucified in absence.
So then we will see you again in we will all convene on Friday night in Milwaukee. That's a good spot.
Oh, yes, it is.
That's a good spot.
Big round
the
tables.
King's Court. That's right. They're round there. That's right.
You can seat a lot of people. You'll have Euchre as backup.
Yes. Schumacher, a fly ball into right field, and Tomas just completely butchered that. And Schumacher will take it with a stand-up double, which brings a tying run to the plate.
Well, not only did Tomas just not catch this ball, but he just made it look really bad in the process. Nearly a one-handed swing there by Schumacher. Went down to get it in. Chip Hale's going to come out and probably make a pitching change.
That is quite an effort for the second time in 2 weeks for Chase Anderson against the Reds. 5 hits so far, no runs, and the Diamondbacks will make the change on the mound. Our Skyline Chili called to the bullpen.
To come up with his first major league hit. Let's see if he's got another one in him. And guys, this was before the game. Todd Frazier, we've shown you that he's worked on handshakes, and this is a new one that he's teaching to Ryan Lamar on the spot. Ryan Lamar has some curly hair, likes to slick his hair back, so I'm just guessing that it is that he likes to slick his hair back, and that's where Frazier's going with that one.
All right, Addison Reed takes over on the mound, and Ryan Lamar at his first big league hit in the 5th inning is a tying run at the plate. Reds down here in the 7th, 2-0. Fastball sails outside, 2-0.
Reed, the one-time closer here. He was also the closer at the White Sox before he was traded over here. 94 on the fastball, a sharp breaking slider.
Two and one on Lamar. Jay Bruce stands in the on-deck circle. That's a pitcher spot next. Well, he had a pitch to hit right there and fouled it back. That appeared to stay up in the middle of the strike zone.
Yeah, Reed is a guy that I think likes to pitch up in the zone. He throws a lot of four-seam fastball. Really doesn't like to sink it all that much. And I imagine after the first couple of strokes there that he sees from Lamar, he's going to maybe go try to just go up the ladder right here. Figuring a young kid, rookie, maybe anxious to try to get something going, and will chase something high around the letters.
Two and two on Ryan Lamar. Ouch. Popped up to the second baseman. The inning is over. So Reed slams the door on the Reds' threat in the 7th. Go to the 8th, 2-0 Arizona. 0-0. 2 outs in the 4th inning. First pitch fastball to Wellington Castillo. A solo home run. And Raisel Iglesias really outside of that. And a play where the Diamondbacks scored a run on a walk and a couple of errors. Has just been had a magical performance here today. He's now officially taken down. 13 strikeouts, the most by a Reds rookie since Gary Nolan fanned 15 San Francisco Giants.
Really a lot to like about this young man, Tom. I mean, besides the raw stuff, just his knack for the feel of hitters in the plate. Of course, I really think that Brian Pena works splendidly with Raisel Iglesias, as he does with most of the pitchers on the mound. But I think especially for Iglesias, gives him a little extra confidence out there. Iglesias, just think of how things could have laid out at the very beginning of the year when you're thinking about Johnny Cueto and Homer Bailey at the top of the rotation. You have Mike Leake, DeSclafani, and or Iglesias in the number 4 spot. I mean, that's really where they were expected to be. And now Iglesias has established himself clearly as the front runner as far as all the young pitchers the Reds have run out there as the most advanced.
So Jumbo Diaz, who's thrown the ball beautifully since coming back from the minor leagues after getting off to a terrible start this year. Bunted in the air, and Votto able to get it. 1 pitch, 1 out for Jumbo.
Take that every time.
We are in the top of the 8th inning at Great American Ballpark. Arizona 2-run, 3 hits. Reds have been shut out on 5 base hits. Chase Anderson once again just dominating the Reds. 6 2/3 innings. Allowed 5 hits. Struck out 2, walked 3. And the Reds better get going, or this losing streak reaches 9. 1-1 on Chris Owings. You're looking ahead to the Reds. Bottom of the 8th inning. Yeah, the pitcher spot due up. And available still on the bench. You saw a moment ago Jay Bruce was in the on-deck circle. He would not be the kind of guy you figure to lead off an inning, although I don't know who you're going to hit for until you get down to maybe Pena's spot.
Unless Brennan Bosch is available to hit, but maybe not to play defense with a sore ankle.
Don't forget Eugenio Suarez is also available off the bench. Bouncing ball to the left side, throw to first, and there are 2 away in the inning. Well, as promised earlier in the game, we've selected a Data Strong fan photo. Tweet your strongest fan photo to hashtag Ohio Data Strong Fan. It's brought to you by T-Mobile. Jason, thank you. Good look from out in deep right center field. 2 away in the inning. 1-0 on Goldschmidt. Who has walked, struck out, and he hit the ball to the right side of the infield where Joey Votto was shading him to hit the ball to his right. He hit it even further to Votto's right, and then Votto was charged with a throwing error to the covering Iglesias. Rysel had a chance actually to end the inning and throw out Ender Enciarte at the plate with a good throw. Enciarte was a runner at second when the ball left the bat. But Iglesias' throw was too high and sailed over the head off the mid of Pena. And Enciarte scored what turned out to be the second run and an unearned run. 2-1 on Goldschmidt. Told you the Reds will stay right here tomorrow night. Tigers in town for that one-game makeup. They were only here for a 2-game series earlier. Ball 4. And one of those two washed out. Boy, how the season has turned for the Tigers since we saw them last. They were resting in second place behind the Royals. Only about a handful of games, as I recall, back in the standings. They still had David Price. David Dombrowski was still their president of baseball operations and general manager. This ball clobbered to straightaway center field, and that baby's gone. Off the bat of David Peralta to make it a 4-0 game.
We were waiting for Peralta to kind of show what he can do, and he has been very quiet so far in this series. He did not start either of the first 2 games because the Reds were throwing left-handers at the Diamondbacks. He has been very quiet yesterday until today, quiet again, and this one right out the front door. Turns around a 96-mile-an-hour fastball. That was a center cut. Peter.
Of course, he was a guy, Chris, you brought it up yesterday during the game where he made 5 outs, but he saw almost, what, 30 pitches?
Yeah, he works here. And for a converted pitcher, that's something that you don't normally would think to come naturally to him. Maybe he realizes as a former pitcher how important it is to be worked over a little bit by the hitter.
Well, you certainly have to give credit where the credit is due, and it is very much due on the third base side dugout in this series, as that ball is smoked into right center field, cut off by Lamar, and Castillo with a single. I mean, the Diamondbacks aren't in the hunt for a playoff spot. Are they officially done? No, they're not. In fact, you go down there and talk to Chip Hale, and he'll tell you last time I checked, we're only 6 games out of first place. And they have a ton of games left in their division. So I guess technically you could say they're still in the hunt. They're on more the perimeter, but a chance nonetheless. Yet here they come rolling right into Cincinnati. They're a lot further back in the wild card than they are in their division. There are only 3 teams fighting for 2 spots in that wild card. The rest of them, barring just a complete collapse by the Pirates, the Cubs, and the Giants, anybody else gets in there, it would be nothing short of a miracle. But 6 games behind the Dodgers. Very young team, and they have played like a hungry team in this series. They've hustled. They've played the game the right way. When they've needed to do little things in this series, they've done it. Their bullpen has been incredible, and they have really hit. And there's another hit.
I mean, they've done it in this series, Tom, with a handful of really no-name pitchers, too. It's not like they're running out guys that are household names as starting pitchers. Last night they won a ball game started by a reliever that couldn't get out of the third inning.
Yeah, their starting pitching has not been much to write home about until really today. Got a good outing by De La Rosa. Corbin, 4 runs in 2 innings in the first game of the series. The Diamondbacks have 7 games left against the Dodgers. They have 6 left against the Giants. The only series, 2 series they play out of their division in September. They're playing a couple of good teams. They go to Chicago Labor Day weekend to take on the Cubs. And then the last 3 games of the year, they will be hosting the Houston Astros of all teams. Jumbo retired the first 2 batters in this inning. 4 in a row have reached since, including the 2-run home run by David Peralta. Tomas gone swinging, a 2-run Arizona 8th inning. So now the Reds a taller order, down by 4. Fest. Arrive early for a pregame ceremony and activity celebrating German Heritage Day. It's a big day here in Cincinnati. First 20,000 fans receive a Reds Stein thanks to Hollywood Casino. Come on down to the ballpark Saturday, September the 5th. That's a 1:10 start. It's a rare Saturday afternoon game. Addison Reed still in the mound. He got the final out in the 7th inning, and the Reds will bat now here in the bottom of the 8th, trailing the Diamondbacks 4-0. Jay Bruce will bat. He bats for Jumbo, who allows 3 hits, a walk, 2 runs in his 1 inning. certainly makes you believe that Brennan Bosch is unable to go up there to pinch hit, because when you're down by this many and you look up and down the bench, he would have probably been the first option you would use leading off an inning, and maybe waiting a little while before you bring in Bruce and or Suarez, a guy that can hit the ball in the seats for you. So Brennan fouled a ball off his foot or ankle in the game last night, was in the lineup today, and then about 30 minutes before the game he was taken down and Lamar put in. Talked about how good the Diamondbacks bullpen has been in this series. 2 starts they've had terrible starting pitching. The other 2 they've had very good pitching. 16 innings and 4 runs allowed. And one of those, in fairness to the Diamondbacks, 2 of those came when they were leading 11-5 in the bottom of the 9th inning yesterday. And that was the only blowout in this series. The other 2 games were close. And that series opener, the Diamondbacks bullpen was as good as you can pitch. Their starter went 2 innings. They went the last 7 of 2-hit shutout baseball. Two and 2 on Jay. And this one is playable for Inciarte. I beg your pardon, that's Peralta out there today. 1 out in the inning. Here's Bourgeois. Jason, 1 out of 3 in the game, is grounded to short, single to right, and struck out swinging. Away in the inning. Following each and every Reds game, including today right here on Fox Sports Ohio. Please stick around for Reds Live, brought to you by Performance Kings Honda. 3 in a row retired by Addison Reed. And now Brandon Phillips. 1 for 3. And now he's 1 for 4. Reds are gone in order. We're off to the 9th inning. All Diamondbacks today and all Diamondbacks all weekend.
reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Diamondbacks lead 4-0 as they come to bat here in the top half of the 9th inning. Reds Live is 30 minutes before the start of every game, and it's brought to you by Ray St. Clair Roofing. And we invite you to join us tomorrow night. A one-game makeup. Buck Farmer making his 4th start for the Tigers, and making his 5th major league start for the Reds is Kivas Sampson. Promoted earlier today when left-hander Manny Parra went on the disabled list. His right-hander Colin Ballister, he was acquired on the 17th of June from the Pirates, was assigned to Louisville, and he threw the ball very well for the Bats. 21 appearances, a 2.85 ERA, while converting all 7 of his saved chances. He last pitched in the major leagues in 2012 for the Tigers against Minnesota.
That was when he was 26 years old. So he is now 29. He was originally drafted by the Montreal Expos in the 4th round in 2004. He's had some big league experience, as you said, Tom. 73 games overall in the major leagues, 22 of those as starts. Of course, those came early on as a 22 and 23-year-old with the Nationals.
He's going to retire Nick Ahmed on a fly ball to center field, and that's the way it starts in the Diamondbacks' 9th inning.
Ballister is here because you said that Manny Parra went on the disabled list. Parra has been on the disabled list, I think, 3 times this year. Once with a neck injury, once with a sprained elbow, and this time with biceps tendonitis in his left shoulder. Appearance of Ballister in the game today. This is the 18th different pitcher that they've used in relief this season, and the 27th different pitcher the Reds have used overall. So scorecard sales are up.
2 balls and 2 strikes on Saltalamacchia. Good fastball there, but just off the inside corner, 94 miles per hour. Crowd of almost 28,000 today. And the Reds are just halfway through this homestand, a little more than halfway through. Today their 6th game, and they have 4 more to go. Tigers tomorrow night, and then 3 against the Dodgers. Night games on Tuesday, Wednesday nights, and a Thursday afternoon game before they hit the road and go to Milwaukee next weekend, followed by a 3-game series against the Chicago Cubs at Wrigley Field. Those will be 3 straight night games. The Reds have played by far more night games than any other team at Wrigley Field over the last 3 years than any team in baseball. Seems like we've gone in there for so many Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday series, and this will be what, the 3rd or 4th time in the last 2 years we played exclusively night baseball in Chicago. Oh, I guess the final game is a day game. So Monday and Tuesday nights next week. And then a Wednesday game before the Reds return back home. Inciarte has been on base twice, stolen a base, scored a run. 1 hit, 1 walk. There are plenty of these Diamondback hitters that have bumped up their batting average numbers, whatever the case may be, during this series, as Inciarte, or on base percentage numbers, one or the other. The Diamondbacks so far in this series have scored 26 runs on 48 base hits. Reds have kept this guy quiet for the first time in this series today. Chris Owings 0 for 4. Raisel Iglesias right now on the hook for what would be his 5th loss in 8 decisions, despite punching out 13, allowing 3 hits in 7 innings. Joey the call and the catch in foul ground, and that's it for the Reds. Joey will lead it off in the 9th, followed by Frazier and Pena. Reds are down by 4. By Menards. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs, and by your local Toyota dealers. Proud sponsor of the Cincinnati Reds. Boy, a lot of the boats out on the river today. Promised earlier in the game, our Miller Time moment brought to you by Miller Lite. We made a catch last night to earn it, and today Ryan Lamar, his first career major league hit, to the delight of mom and dad, sisters. Yes, indeed. Stand and cheer, young man. Came in the 5th inning. Reds would love to have Lamar come to the plate in this inning. They're down 4-0. He's due up 6th, so they'd have something working. You have to really have not even a major threat since the first inning. And the first inning was a threat. I don't know about a major threat. They had first and second with 1 out. Since then, they have not had more than 1 base runner in any inning of this game. Joey Votto takes 2 strikes right down the middle from a left-hander who was just brought up before the game today in Reynolds. That was a late roster move made by the Arizona Diamondbacks, and all he does is come in and strike out Joey Votto on 3 straight pitches. Votto did not swing the bat.
You know, the only thing I can figure, Tom, is that with that late roster move, chances are that Votto had no clue what Reynolds throws. And he's a guy that really prepares. I mean, he's an uber preparer as far as watching video, trying to figure out what pitchers have and so on. And it's the only thing I can figure, because taking 3 down Broadway, not the way to start the inning.
Reynolds, brought up from Reno prior to the game, has not pitched in the major league since June of 2013. Can you imagine that? This guy's been out for over 2 years after missing all of last year with Tommy John surgery. And the first batter you face when you come into a game is Joey Votto, and you strike him out on 3 pitches. And this guy in 2013 was a force for the Arizona Diamondbacks. He had a 1.9 ERA in 30 games. A couple of saves that year before going down with the injury. He'll be 31 years old in October, and has worked all his way back. Came over to the Diamondbacks from Colorado. Frazier, a fly ball into center field, and the Reds are down to their final out of the game. Well, Chris, you know, I ask you this from time to time, and I don't dare suggest that you would even have any idea what the answer to this question is. And I don't say that, and you know I don't say it in a slight in any way, shape, or form. It's just there have been people trying to look for the answer to this question for almost 200 years. When you're in Brian Price's spot, 9 in a row, what do you do after today's game, if anything, or before tomorrow's game, if anything?
Well, that is the tough question, because, you know, Brian has already had a fair number of closed-door meetings. And maybe it's time for the players to get together and have a closed-door meeting and talk about what they're playing for between now and the end of the year, and not all Brian Price. I mean, what we've seen is a team that just looks like they're without energy, and I'm not so sure it's up to the manager to try to figure out where the plug-in goes. I mean, it starts with the guys who are actually taking the field. But he is probably being eaten from the inside out, having to watch this every day, as those at home who are watching it every day must feel the same way.
And they're not alone.
I mean, your first reaction is get rid of them all, start over. But, you know, obviously in this world it's not easy as that.
No.
So I'm sure Brian, if he had a secret pill, he'd be giving it out to everybody right now.
Because, you know, it is funny when you say to somebody, look, all of us are guilty of saying, you know, get them all out of here. Well, then when you really say, okay, well, look, you have to put a 25-man roster for tomorrow's game. You can't get them all out of here.
Right.
But what would you really do? I mean, Joey Votto and Brandon Phillips aren't going anywhere. Jay Bruce isn't going anywhere. The overwhelming majority of these guys aren't going anywhere. Mm-hmm. And the few that you might say, okay, well, we can do without him. Well, what are you really changing with your team with that kind of move?
Well, those guys that you just mentioned are the core that need to lead this team. Now, whether they're born leaders or not, or vocal leaders, that doesn't make any difference. You still got to get out there and figure out a way to pull all in the right direction. Because it's a whole lot more fun, even on a losing team that's 20 games under 500, to win a ball game every once in a while. Because for a day, you feel good about yourself.
For the first time since the 15th game of the season, the Arizona Diamondbacks are over the 500 mark. They win it by a final count of 4-0. Reds' losing streak is 9 in a row, and the Diamondbacks sweep the 4-game weekend series. Tigers in town tomorrow night. We'll talk more about that on Reds Live, which is coming up next. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio.